is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And I'm excited to talk about mindset today because, quite frankly, you can have all the best strategies in the world, and that's not what's going to make you ultra productive because it starts with the mindset. And our guest today, Zahra Karsan, she knows, and she talks about it, and she's passionate about it. She's a certified mindset coaching and neuroscience expert, and she's an international public speaker, as well as a trusted personal success coach to dozens of global executives. Her company is called Get Zen, which is kind of clever. And she offers a suite of interactive tools that include online video training and basically a lot of different tools to help you get unstuck, to reach your goals, and to have the life experiences that you want. So she'll tell you more about herself. So Zahra, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Penny. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So what makes you passionate about mindset? Why?
Why? Well, I'd have to take you way back. I'll just go through it really briefly, if I may share my little story with you.
Yeah, please do.
So I was born in South Africa during apartheid, which you can imagine is a challenging time. I think the US faced similar segregation challenges because of racial issues. And I think when you're little, you're too small to understand how to process all of that. And so my little brain in my little 3-year-old body said, it searched for some explanation to explain the phenomenon that were going on around me. I couldn't go to the public beach. I couldn't walk into restaurants with my family. I couldn't go to hotels. We couldn't go to public spaces. It was segregated and it was not available for us to access. And so, as human beings, I think I heard a saying once that said, the moment we became aware of our thoughts was the moment we started worrying. And I think that's so true. And so in that moment, I think what I did was, or what the human condition is, we're meaning-making machines. So I needed to search for an explanation that explained my world and made sense of the world around me and what was going on. And what I decided about myself in that moment was, I guess I'm not good enough because of whatever. Maybe I was a girl, maybe the color of my skin, maybe so many other factors. And then that plays out so many different ways as you grow older. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. And I was always a very strong-willed person. And I always knew I wanted an exciting and adventurous life for myself. So at a certain point, that little story, I just outgrew it. And I said, that's not enough for me. So how do I overwrite that? How do I shift my mindset and get rid of the story once and for all? But why did it show up in the first place? And so that became my fascination, is what is it that gets people so stuck in fear, so stuck in these belief patterns, so stuck in these fear strategies that stop them from having the love that they want, or the connection that they want, or the joy or the freedom or the type of wealth and abundance they really want to attract in their life. And so that became my fascination, is what stops most of us? And why is it that those few are able to break free? And so I became fascinated with that gap and how to unlock and shift that mindset. And I figured out how to do it for myself. And I decided this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I want to teach other people to do. And so I studied neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy, which is all about the subconscious. So we're 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious. And you talk about this a lot in
right. Well, I studied the same background. I mean, we have some similarities there in that context. Yeah. So absolutely. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I do want to go back to some points. So let me know when.
Of course. So I was so curious about how do we tap into that 95%? Because I was convinced that was the secret. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't enough. I wanted more data. I wanted the science behind it because I need something to be proven to me. I'm the ultimate skeptic. I need something to be quick, powerful, and efficient. And if it works and you can show me results fast, I'll do it. I don't care if I don't like it. I want the benefits. I'm going to figure it out and I'll do it. And so I said, this was the same approach I wanted to take. And I thought, how can I start to work with people outside of the coaching world to give them the skills they need to start doing this work themselves so that they can just have that awareness, make the shift and move beyond. And so that's why I created the Rewire system. And that's what I poured into this book. So after studying NLP and hypnotherapy, I wanted to study neuroscience to understand the brain and optimal health. Then I wanted to study positive psychology, which is all of those tools and techniques. It's really the study of happiness and finding peace and balance and how to manage your energy level. So I poured all of that into this book. And the book is called 6 Weeks to Happy. And it's a program to really teach you the tools that you need to get from A to B, to shift that mindset and to keep you there. Because I think a lot of us go through these, we take these little weekend courses or we read a book or we get a nugget or we go to a yoga class or we go for a run and something feels great, but we don't know how to keep that feeling. And so I wanted to give people the tools to stay in that state of flow, to stay in that vibe. And
absolutely.
So thank you for having me. I'm able to hear.
So really interesting, right? The more we learn, the more we want to learn more, right? Because we know that this is a deep topic. And I just want to go back because I like to have some back and forth and converse around some of these points. So one of them is that I'm not enough, right? And I think that's like our journey. I think everybody we all have different experiences in life that might bring us to, at some point in our life, I think everyone experiences something that challenges them that way. And you mentioned something earlier about that we're meaning makers. I talk about that all the time. Like I didn't realize it until I went through some of this neuro-linguistic programming and what my strategies were. And then I was like, wow, look how I've approached to creating different meaning in my life and where that really gets people stuck. So I'd like to dig deeper into that. And I'm sure that's where your program goes into, because at the end of the day, that's where it is. That's the sliding door, right? Is do we choose door A or the first way through, which is, let's say, what I call unproductive and doesn't get us to where we want to go and keeps us from the very thing that we want? Or do we take the other door, which gives us more choices and options, which is more productive and leads us down a different path? So
you're absolutely right. And describing it like a sliding door is exactly right. Because, in the consulting world, so my first career was as a management consultant. And that's how I have this relationship in mindset coaching and consulting and these relationships with these executives, is that was my background. And so then I started a coaching practice and I was doing both. And I realized I was seeing patterns in the data in my clients. And so it got to a point where, we have a handful of limiting beliefs, but it really got to a point where I realized, wow, this is universal. In science, you get a result. You get a result past north of 70%, and you can say something is evidentially true. But I've never seen 100%. And in this case, I would be sitting there and I was waiting for it, or I'd be working with a client and I'm just observing them and saying, okay, this is one of their 5. And so it came down to 5 buckets of these limiting beliefs. You can call them fear strategies. You can call them limiting beliefs. I call them core limiting beliefs because they really keep us stuck in that. They make us more risk averse. It's the thing that stops us from starting that business or going for that next pay raise or going for that next job or
asking someone out on a date right? It's in every area of our life. It's what makes us reach for the donut versus the granola bar, whatever it is, right? Totally.
It's some story that we're telling ourselves. And so in the consulting world, you have to figure out how to go from current state to future state. Let's say you're building a system and you need something to be different than it is now. Life is no different than this. People are no different than this.
Right.
We want something to be different, but we just don't know how to get there because we don't have the tools yet. And so one of the things I had to learn in consulting was you have to learn about risk management. So you have to identify all your barriers to success up front, and then you work through them so that by the time you roll out your project and you're trying to achieve your goal, you've already assessed every possible risk and you figured out how you're going to overcome it. And so this is sort of that secret sauce, is those 5 core limiting beliefs. So if your story is the I'm not enough, it might not sound that way. It might sound like, oh, I don't think wealth is for everyone, or I don't think I'm resourceful enough to make that kind of money. I'm happy where I am. I'm comfortable here. It could sound very different, right?
Right.
Or
Right. I'm too young, or right. There's all sorts of stories that can boil down to that. So tell us briefly, we could talk all day, but we have limited attention span with people who like squirrel are off to different things. Right. So quickly tell us what the 5 are, and then let's dig into the other side of it, which is a strategy to help us get unstuck.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, the first thing is, I don't know if we'll get through all 5, but I'll go through So we talked a little bit about the not enough, and I'll give you another one that we can dive into. So the not enough, how does that play out in your life with respect to love, for example? If you're dating, as you said, you won't be able to have the confidence to ask that person out or to make that next step. But if you go further, let's say you're now in a relationship, what does that feel like? When you feel like you're not enough for the person, you're constantly reminding them of why they shouldn't love you. Or you're creating situations to prove to yourself, because again, it's running in your subconscious mind. It's sort of your operating system, and it's happening beyond your awareness, like you're on autopilot. So if it's running you and you have no awareness of it, you can't get in front of it. You can't be in power of it. You can't be in control of it. And so just developing that awareness and having an understanding of how it can possibly play out in different areas of your life that prevent you from having that real trust, that real support, that real partnership in relationship that you crave, because there's this little story running in your background saying, I'm not enough for this person. And so it prevents you from creating that trust and that real sense of love and partnership that you crave. It creates a barrier, if you will. And so another one we can talk about is a lot of people feel alone in this world, for example. But it won't sound like I'm alone. That's your subconscious underlying belief that says I'm alone in this world. But how it may sound or how it could play out in your life is, if I want something done right, I have to do it myself. Or I can't rely on my partner to do this. If I want this done, I'm going to have to get it done myself. Or how does it show up in business, for example? It would show up with, are you able to delegate and rely on your team? Are you able to rely on your business partner for certain things? And so how it plays out is, so imagine you're in a relationship and you've got a family and you both got jobs. That's a lot to manage. It's incredibly busy already, and it's time consuming, and your energy is usually tapped out from day to day, just prioritizing. But if you're in the mindset and the story that's running in your mind is, I'm alone and I have to do everything for myself, how exhausting is that?
Absolutely. Those are the people. Check it out, people. If you're one of these people, you don't ask for help.
Yes.
Right? That's a symptom, or whatever you want to call it, of this is how it shows up, is you just keep piling it on and you don't ask for help and you think you've got to do it all. And whatever reason you tell yourself, like you said, it's exhausting.
It's absolutely exhausting. And so you don't take those risks, and you don't open up to your partner, and you don't rely on your business partner, and you don't rely on your team. So you end up scrambling and doing everything yourself. And by the end of the day, you're too tapped out. I mean, you're completely depleted of energy. And how do you recharge from empty? If you were to just delegate even 20% to your team, to your business partner, to your family, to your spouse or your partner, your love, whoever that is, all of a sudden you have 20% of your energy back, and it can be a game changer. And that's just a small change.
Right.
So imagine if you really were able to have that awareness of how it showed up in your life, shift that obstacle and flip the mindset and say, actually, I'm fully loved and supported. I have all the support and all the resources I need in any moment. How different would your day go if you knew you could count on your team? If you knew when you woke up in the morning that you and your partner had equal responsibility to look after your life? You would just have so much more time, money, and energy free for yourself to manage. And you would be able to find your joy again. You'd have more peace again. You'd have more balance back in your life. So it's critical to work through this.
One of the things that you said was, you've mentioned a couple times energy. I talk about that energy management as well. And I think that was a really great point that you said. How do you come back from energy zero? We don't need to tap it until it's dry, right?
Yes.
Is that it's so much better if we leave ourselves some space and know when we're getting low, right? You don't do that to your car. If you drive a fuel operated car, you don't let it get down to zero. You fill it back up. You make sure that there's enough in there, or you charge it in enough space. So I think that's such a great little metaphor to think about. It's so much harder to come back from zero and takes so much longer than it does to put those buffers in place so that you're managing that in an effective way.
Absolutely. What you're talking about now is in the world of positive psychology, it's called ego depletion. Now, it's not just the ego as in the ego that we're talking about. It's the idea that we are energetic beings and we have a finite amount of energy that needs to be managed. We're like a battery or a gas tank that needs to be refilled or recharged. Energy input has to equal energy output. And so many of us are running on empty all the time. And how you know you're running on empty is you wake up probably feeling tired instead of rested. You're less able to manage or regulate your emotions throughout the day. So if you have outbursts because you're strung out. Anyone is like that. It's the human condition. So,
well, the energy's still there. It just changes form, right? So kind of a little bit Einstein-y, right? Is that It's not created or destroyed. It's just, it changes form. And I think that's the key is that
neither created or destroyed. It's right. It just changes form. And you're right. And so in that moment when you're tapped out, but something requires of your energy and you have nothing to give, you're going to have a little outburst because it's the only way you can do it. There's nothing left in the tank. So where are you going to get it from? You're going to get it from a push of some way, but living in that mindset, living in that headspace, living in that energy space is really taxing. First of all, it's taxing on the body because we have wear and tear over the years. We have something called over time, we have chronic stress, we have chronic fatigue, we have inflammation in the body, we have autoimmune disorders. It can show up in many, many different ways. So I like to think of it as the four body system and learning how to manage and regulate the four bodies. So we're spiritual or energetic body, we have a mental, an emotional, and a physical body. And when most people think of happiness or being in a good state of health or low stress, they're really talking about how to manage the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much more than just managing your physical health. In fact, your physical body is usually a gauge for how well you're doing with the other three bodies as well.
It's the last stop, right? Yeah, you've been doing this for a long time, and now we're breaking down to the point where you can't ignore it.
100%. It acts almost like an alarm bell. So, for example, I have a back injury, and even though I may have done nothing to trigger my back whatsoever, if I'm at a prolonged period of stress in my life and I haven't taken the time to dial back, my back will signal. Literally get lower back pain out of nowhere, not having stressed it or strained it or lifted anything heavy, just all of a sudden wake up one day and go, oh, I need to slow down. This is my warning. And I know this about myself. So let's talk about the four bodies for a minute, just so people understand. So the energetic or the spiritual body is your connection to source, whatever you want to call that. It has nothing to do with any faith. I think it's more about the condition of being human. We are energetic beings. We are connected to the quantum world around us. If you believe that we're atoms and thoughts are energy and we are energy, then how we interact with that world and how we regulate our energy becomes really important. And so energy trickles down from source through the energetic body, and it hits your mental body first, which is your CEO, your brain, your thoughts, your decision-making processes, critical thinking. And then it hits your emotional body, which is where we house all past memories, where we house all negative emotions, pain, sadness, hurt, fear. All of that goes into our memory.
Positive
bank.
ones are there too. Let's not just forget about those, right?
Yes.
We
absolutely.
all saw that movie, the Disney movie, with all the emotions and how they interact with one another.
That's right. And the positive ones are also there. But where most people get stuck now, if everything is flowing and you're in a high state of elevated positive emotion, then you're fully aligned. And that's what I think is the state of flow, because then your spiritual, mental, emotional, physical bodies are fully aligned and you can accomplish amazing things in that moment.
Absolutely.
But when you're not, you're going to tap into that. That energy is going to flow into your emotional body and it's going to run into the past negative emotions like fear. And so all of those self-sabotaging behaviors, the ones that stop you from going for that next job or that pay raise or whatever change it is you're trying to shift in your life, that's where you're going to get stuck. And that's fine in the short term. We all have bad days. We all have life events and things that, have us feeling tapped out for a few weeks or a few months. But think about it over time. 10 years now passes and you haven't worked on that one milestone or that one goal that you really feel is going to bring you so much more peace or freedom. Maybe just the freedom of having your bills paid and not having to wake up and worry about that just for one day would be a game changer for some people. And then it hits your physical body after that, which is usually, again, if your spiritual, mental, emotional bodies haven't been looked after in the right ways, then your physical body is going to be a symptom. It's going to be a gauge for how well or not well you're doing. And also that's your physical body that takes action. So if your mental body is setting the goals, your emotional body is getting the goals. And if it gets stuck there, then you're stuck, then you're stopped.
Right. So I want to talk about, because we've got just a couple minutes to bring some solutions. Yes. And of course, they can find out more information about your system. They can go to your website. We'll get all that information at the end of the show. But let's talk about solutions. So we all get stuck. We know that there's 5 core limiting beliefs. We talked about 2 of them. What are some solutions that help us get unstuck when we're not aligned and we're not in that space and we get caught up in those stories?
Sure. When you wake up in the morning, you're stuck in autopilot. In the world of neuroscience, we know that we're 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious. So when you wake up in the morning and you have that set of feelings, you start thinking about your day, and you have that set of thoughts that says, oh my God, I have so much going on. I don't know how I'm going to get through it all. Then you start having the emotions that go with those. So now your emotions are less about, oh, the day is beginning with gratitude. Now maybe you're switching to being stressed or worried or anxious or nervous or frustrated. Well, those thoughts and feelings get bundled together in a loop. And the more you do them, the more automatic they become. So now we're waking up and we're in this constant thought and feeling loop that says, I don't know if I'm going to get to it all. Well, do you think that's the day that you're actually going to achieve anything or work towards your goal? Absolutely not. That's the day you're going to be kind to yourself, maybe pour a glass of wine at the end of the night and say, today is not the day I begin that journey. Now, if you can wake up, and here's tool number 1, just start with asking yourself, how do I want to feel instead? So instead of feeling tired, just set your intentions for the day. And what that does is it shifts you automatically to a completely new and more empowered mindset where you get to consciously think and feel the way that you want to think and feel. So if instead you say, and my 3 feelings, and I talk about it in the book, is I was coming out of something, I was uber stressed, and I just knew something needed to change. And this little voice inside me said, how do you want to feel instead? And I said, I want to feel peaceful and calm and happy again. Now, I promise you, if you wake up in the morning and you just sit, whether it's in meditation or just sit with your coffee, and for even 5 full minutes, just say, I want to focus on just feeling peaceful and let that wash over your body and really vibrate at that level of peaceful and then vibrate at the level of happy or calm or whatever that emotion is that you're choosing. That's a beautiful space to start your day from, because now after you finish that 5 minutes, you're going to look at your day and you're going to say, how do I think it's going to go today? And it's going to be altered. It's going to be shifted for the better, because you can't wake up in the morning and feel stressed and happy at the same time. You can feel peaceful and grateful at the same time. You can feel grateful and happy at the same time. You can feel calm and productive at the same time. It's very hard to feel stressed and productive at the same time. And so what happens is you start your day off in that right headspace. And throughout the day, if you feel stressed, the quickest biohack to get yourself back to calm is 6 deep breaths with a slow exhale. Triggers your parasympathetic nervous system, triggers the brain and your central nervous system to say, there's no danger here. Everything is fine. We can go back to calm. And from that space, just go back again and ask yourself, how do I want to feel in this moment? And just pause and reset. Pause and reset as many times as you can throughout the day. And that shifts you from being in that 95% of autopilot and taking control back. So you're not in that subconscious thinking, feeling loop again. You're choosing now, consciously choosing, how do I want this to go now? How do I want to feel now? How do I want to be thinking now? And I think you talked about this in your TED Talk when you were doing that dive as well, where you caught yourself in that fear loop.
In the loop.
Yes.
Exactly. No, I was smiling because I felt like I was being hypnotized. I was feeling like that while you're saying that, this is how you feel now. I was like, yes, I feel that. So it's as simple as that, is that you can bring yourself into those feelings simply by breaking the pattern of that loop that was going and walking and stepping into a moment. Now, some people might be saying, well, I don't meditate. That's not my thing. Like, I'm not energetic. And what I was thinking while you were saying that, well, it's as simple as, some of the tools that we've learned is as simple as thinking of a time when you felt peaceful.
Absolutely.
Is there a place where you go to think peaceful? Like when I want to go to, like, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and my brain is racing and I'm like, no, it's 4:00 in the morning and I want to sleep.
Yes.
So I have a place that I go because it's a place that's peaceful and relaxing. So I put myself on a mountain bike in the woods in Switzerland because I used to live in Switzerland for a number of years. And that was my happy place.
Yes.
So because I was in nature and I felt grounded and I felt free. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that's what came up for me. And I started to do that anytime I wake up in the middle of the night and I take myself through a tour of the woods. And it's like one of those music that sometimes gets put on and then just shifts your being. So we all can get there. It's just a matter of remembering
Absolutely.
what was a time and place that makes me feel calm, peaceful, happy, whatever the emotion is that you want to feel.
100%. And you tapped into something so powerful there, honestly, Penny, because the brain doesn't know real from perceived. So if your happy place is the mountains or the beach, just imagine that first moment, like the next day, that first morning when you wake up in your happy place, your vacation spot, and you're having your coffee and the world is a million miles away, your job is a million miles away, and you're just so present and the air is crisp or the air is warm and you feel the sea breeze. And if you can just get into that state of mind, you don't have to meditate, quote unquote. You can just close your eyes and get yourself to a peaceful state of being, a peaceful state of mind by recreating a memory of when you were in that happy place, because the brain doesn't know real from perceived. So if you can imagine it, you can perceive of it and you can get yourself there. But the trick is it has to be thought and feeling. So you have to feel the feelings. Mm-hmm. You can't just imagine yourself there like, okay, I'm on that beach.
Right. I'm on the bike. I feel the breeze as I'm going and see the leaves as they're waving. And it can be so easy, right? If I'm opening the window, I can feel the sun on my face, right? We can kind of bring those feelings alive because we've been there. And because I know that some people, like, I'm not so great at always visualizing somewhere I've never been.
Right.
Anybody can remember a moment where they were and how they felt and bring those emotions and those feelings in. So anybody can
remember a moment where you were truly your happiest, where you didn't have a care in the world. And so when you imagine that moment, whether it's real or constructive, when I say real, meaning it's a memory, constructive, meaning a new vision, like you're talking about, it doesn't matter. The brain, when you're imagining that, lights up your visual, your auditory, and your kinesthetic center. So if you ask yourself in that moment, what am I seeing? What am I doing? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? And get into that elevated emotional state. Mm-hmm. It's a game changer. If you can start your day that way, even with 5 or 7 minutes, and do that as often as you can throughout the day, what ends up happening is you're starting to rewire the brain from the old worrying you to the new, more peaceful, more empowered, more focused and productive you. And so now you're tapping into real human potential. And that's a really, really beautiful thing.
And what you're saying, for those of you who are listening, maybe you do this. Well, how about share that with other people? Help them to access those feelings when you notice they're feeling stressed. How do you bring them to a place that brings them calm, that brings them joy, that brings them happiness, that just gives them a different starting place? So there's always another level, right? This is like karate. There's multiple levels of black belt. So however you guys who are listening might apply this already, what's the next level for you? How could you apply this at the next level to make a difference to the people in your lives, to help them reframe a situation, or so that they too can be happier, more productive, and just focused on the things that matter in their lives?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you. We're out of time for now. So I know we didn't get even to talk about the whole rewire system. So give us like 2 sentences and then tell us where to go to find out more about you and your systems.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Well, if you want something different, we have to know where to start, right? And so navigating through this life without having an understanding of what tools we need to do it successfully is like trying to get to a destination with an outdated map. Every successful entrepreneur or athlete I know has a coach. If you want a coach, there are great coaches available. All you need to do is reach out. I can teach you hundreds of strategies on how to improve the quality of your life. But what I've done is I've taken the top 18 strategies and put them into the Rewire system and into this book, 6 Weeks to Happy. You'll learn 3 simple tools to align your 4 bodies per week over a period of 6 weeks. And all it takes is 10 minutes per day, and it gets you on the road to happiness and success. And all you have to do is go to 6weekstohappy.com and start your journey today. Don't wait.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Penny, for having me. My pleasure.
Thank you all for listening. And you get it. It is about mindset. And the thing is that it's the one thing that you have 100% control over. Believe it or not, you do. And there's a lot of things out there that we don't have control over, and we exhaust ourselves trying to control things that we can't. So let's reset, as Zahra talked about. Let's reset and get clear on those stories that we're telling ourselves and how they're limiting us, and how we can flip the script, how we can change those stories, rewrite them. Anything that's learned can be unlearned. And then we can learn what it is, the direction that we want to go. So just remember that that's within your power. So hopefully you listened, you're invigorated to take a look at what are some of the things that are holding you back, and what are some great practices that can help you just start your day in a more productive way? And what are some resets that you can make throughout the day so that you're aware and paying attention of where your mindset is being destructive, and where and how you can make it productive. So that's today's show. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.